welcome to our FinextraTV 2021 prediction series. I'm Hannah Wallace, and kindly calling in now to our virtual studio is Mark Smith, Head of Europe EMEA Treasury and Trade Solutions at Citi. So welcome, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. It's good to have you on. So yes, over the course of 2020, we spoke a lot about the increase in digital transformation. So that's really where I want to start today. Do you think the increase in changes we've seen so far are here to stay? And if so, how do you intend to help your clients with their digital journey? So let's begin there.
Look, it's a great question. And look, is it here to stay? I think it's an unstoppable trend. More importantly, it's a pretty exciting trend. So absolutely is my answer to your question. And look, I think this reflects some of the acceleration and adoption we saw during COVID with respect to the larger migration of commercial flows, of financial flows onto the digital platform. So just a few interesting facts within Citi, for instance. So we saw over 75% of our accounts open last year through our new digital channels, and that includes digital signatures and other capability. One other digital embracement and transformation that we've seen is the connectivity through a new channel of APIs. We've seen that grow well over 45% from 2019 to 2020. And if anything, in the latter part of 20, that was accelerating even more. So it's not only here to stay, but I continue to see a lot of acceleration as the world moves very much towards 24/7, 365 days a year.
Some interesting developments ahead, I think it's safe to say. And if the pandemic has highlighted anything, it's also the importance of building resilience and managing business disruption. I think we've seen plenty of disruption in the year just gone. So what impact do you think this will have on your clients, and what advice would you give for mobilising digitisation initiatives to adapt to this sort of new emerging landscape post-COVID?
Yeah, so look, we just mentioned about the acceleration in a very shortened period of time. So it's this business structure, the business opportunities and people as well being a core part of that we've seen change. So when I think about business resilience, I think it's broken down maybe into two or three different parts. You've got your financial resilience, you've got your organizational resilience, and then the business model resilience as part of that. So if I think about one or two examples, one around data, what we see very clearly is smarter data leads to smarter decisions. And from that perspective, it's the instant availability of data. It's the richer quality of the data that you can see that gives better insights into what's going on in the business, what you need to adapt to. We've seen some of those being industry-wide through new ISO formats, and some of it more proprietary between banks and clients as well. So data are a big part of that resilience work. Another example is somewhat removing a lot of friction from the system. So for us, we've seen instant payments, for instance. That has really accelerated. We've got it in well over 25 of our countries across the network. We're adding more to that almost every month over the course of the next 12 months, 24 months ahead of us. And instant payments as a method of paying each other, of paying that supply chain, paying our clients. We've seen that really accelerate as well. So data, removing friction, and all of this, I think, flows to that business resilience and the change of some of those platforms. So e-commerce, as you can imagine, we've seen a huge pivot more towards that, an acceleration of that with a number of our clients. So the capability of reaching out to more consumers out there through this growing platform is something that we've seen clients be more demanding of their banking partners, and the banks providing that capability very quickly, very efficiently in order to utilize that new channel of business.
But I think it's safe to say you've been pretty busy at Citi then. All right, so coming on to sustainability, right? This is now a company-wide business concern, one of which is becoming increasingly urgent as we live through another global shock since the 2008 financial crash, which is, of course, the pandemic, which we've been speaking about already. So it's taught us that we cannot ignore the signs from science when they flash red. So Let's start there. How do you see banks and your clients' agendas changing in light of this, especially to accommodate the year ahead and transition to this more sustainable future? By no means a small question, but we'll give it a go.
Look, it's not a small question, but to be fair, it's a very interesting and exciting one as we move forward as well, as we move towards this clearly more sustainable future. One of the first things that the new US president did coming in was sign up again to the Paris Accord. We've got the COP meeting in Glasgow later this year, and from a commerce perspective, from a global finance perspective, we're also seeing a number of our clients as treasurers. They are becoming responsible for, in many cases, the ESG initiatives that their firms are doing. So Treasury and our clients are very much at the center of a lot of these initiatives underway. And I'll give you a few examples. In some cases, we've got green deposits growing. We've got money market fund investments going into ESG compliant. But one area that I do think is particularly interesting is around the supply chain finance. And just to give you a sense now, well over 50% of our conversations around supply chain finance are leading with the sustainable component of it. Now, compare that to 2 or 3 years ago, you'd be in single digits in terms of the percentage. So the embracing of that supply chain finance is at very much the heart of some of these important momentum and phases that we have in it. So the good thing about supply chain finance as well is it's not just a one-off transaction. The fact that it's the supply chain makes it a lot more sustainable, a lot more long-term, and really ripples through the business community, that commerce chain, to really have that longer term sustainable change as well.
As you say, it's really interesting how we started the year with the election of President Biden with his new US policies, and interesting how climate change has really hit the election cycle. So a good start to the year. Mark, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your insights. It's been very interesting and informative. Thank you.
Thank you very much again.